What's going on there, guys? Good evening. It's the Earthmaster here on this Wednesday night, October 26, 2022. It's about 7:30 p.m. California time. Latest quake shows a 4.0 up here, right around the Iceland area. Some new activity coming in here towards the northern Atlantic area. Again, just right to the north of the Iceland area. Pretty crazy activity ramping up there. Also, way down south here, we had some activity around the South Sandwich Islands. It looks like a little bit of activity kicking up down there. Both sides of the plates here. I mean, one way up north, one way down south. All right, so let's see what's going on here. I notice the USGS does not have anything listed up here yet for the Iceland area. That is from the EMSC. We'll definitely check that out here in a little bit. But first, I want to cover USGS here. Looks like they're listing one earthquake, a 5.4, just within the last hour here, about 76 kilometers deep. Now, this area has seen a little bit of movement here recently, over the last week specifically, including a 6-pointer, 6.3. That one coming in just a couple days ago. So activity really kind of ramping up in a big fashion there throughout the South Sandwich Islands area. A little bit of movement up here around the Mid-Atlantic Ridge as well, 4.9, 10 kilometers deep. And if we bring in the Iceland activity we're seeing now on the globe from the EMSC, that's definitely a pretty broad uptick here across portions of the Atlantic Ocean on all sides, from the north to south and central. South America region get low activity throughout the afternoon time frame. A couple more deep earthquakes. Well, at least one deep earthquake, a 4.4 at 170 kilometers deep here into the Peru-Chile Trench. That's one of the latest quakes there in the area. And across the Puerto Rico area, things kind of kicking up a little bit now. Nothing major. Got one earthquake here around the British Virgin Islands area, and a couple other spotty earthquakes throughout the Puerto Rico area. All right, what else we got here as we scoot across the region throughout the states here? Looks like a little bit of movement throughout, of course, Oklahoma, Texas, New Madrid zone. All this activity from earlier this morning, it looks like. No further activity throughout the afternoon time frame. We got a query blast there in Oklahoma, but that's about it. West Coast activity, we did see some further movement off the coast of the Oregon area, just shy here of the Cascadia megathrust. Kind of keeping my eye on this area, just due to all the a lot of uptick in activity, and also some major tremor events and some odd tremor readings. We'll check that out here in just a second with the tremor. But 3.2 out there around the Gorda Ridges, just north here of this area, outside of the ridge zone. About 10 kilometers deep for that earthquake. Some spotty activity throughout Washington is noted up here, but nothing major going on currently. Looks like just a couple of small microquakes throughout the region. As far as California goes, have we seen any further activity ramping up? Well, around the Calaveras fault zone, we're still seeing some microquake activity kicking up and aftershock sequences here, right around where the 5.1 struck. And that's a little bit of earthquake activity ramping up there. But either way, 5.1's moderate size earthquake, so we're going to have aftershocks occurring within that fault system there. Along the creeping segment here of the plate boundary, some movement outside of Soledad, it looks like, Coalinga area. Although most of this activity here noted early this morning, about 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock time frame. Further down south, there's the Mammoth Lakes up here. Looks like we're kind of filling in a little bit of earthquake activity here throughout the afternoon time frame around Long Valley. Nothing specifically at the Caldera region, just outside here and south of Mammoth Lakes. A little bit of activity kicking up throughout the afternoon time period. Some movement across the area north of the Garlock Fault Zone and also the Ridgecrest area, but no major movement to take note of there. Still seeing some swarming out here around the, well, let's see where we're at here. It's off of a segment of the San Jacinto Fault Zone. Looks like in between a couple different segments here. around these mountains, Baldy Mountain, Thomas Mountain. I've never been down to this area. I don't know what's up there, but these earthquakes occurring down below the surface at about 13 kilometers deep. And it's a little swarm of them. So far, about 34 earthquakes within the last 24 hours. And the largest magnitude at 2.9. So something brewing down there. Well below the surface levels of the San Jacinto Fault Zone. Nothing major going on across the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault for now. Let's see what else we got. Nevada, a couple different swarms out here around Tonopah, it looks like. And further south across 95, right? Highway 95, outside of Goldfield, it looks like. Just a little bit of swarming in a couple different segments of some fault systems out there. Of course, Nevada is riddled with faults all over the place. And it's definitely some earthquake country out there. Yellowstone National Park, got about 5 earthquakes listed here. The last one was this afternoon, a 1.0. Let me bring up the Yellowstone overview real quick. Stand by for just a second here. And still seeing some activity. Make sure this is today's date. Yep, UTC time. Still seeing some activity ramping up here in the microquake department at Yellowstone. No major adjustments, changes, or any unusual activity there at Yellowstone currently, but just an ongoing swarm. It's been consistent for a little while now. Alaska, some activity it looks like, although not as populated with the multitude of quakes throughout the region today. Notice that only a little handful throughout the area. Western Pacific, still waiting on the Kuril-Kamchatka. Not a whole lot of activity here throughout the day. Most of this was early this morning, around 2 o'clock in the morning. We did have one further earthquake here outside of Taiwan in the Japan area. Looks like a 4.5 at 144 kilometers deep around the East China Sea. All these other quakes are older throughout the region. And down into the Tonga area, one earthquake, another deep one, 552 kilometers deep there. Very typical area to see some major deep movement. Although 4.5 kicking up about 552 kilometers deep. Hawaii, let's check over here first. I'm kind of curious to see if we got any further westward pressure movement out here. And it looks like about the only one is going to be the Owen fracture zone here. Just outside of the Arabian Sea, the Arabian Basin, in a divergent boundary out here just outside of Carlsberg Ridge. A couple different fracture zones. And this one, a 5.1 at about 4 o'clock my time today. 10 kilometers deep. As you know, not a whole lot of activity kicking up further west currently. All right, Hawaii, let's go ahead and zoom in here, see what we got. Kind of lighten up a little bit. Let's zoom into the swarm right up at the top of Mauna Loa. Looks like things starting to pick up over the last couple hours. Latest quake, a 2.0. Pretty shallow, negative 3.8 kilometers. So this earthquake is occurring pretty much literally right at the surface here of this crater area. And looks like it, yeah, definitely looks like it's starting to kick back up. We're going to check out the, let's go over here to the hazard notification system first from the USGS, and we'll click on HVO. We'll get the daily update here from the USGS. Of course, Kilauea Volcano is still continuing to erupt. It has been since September 29th of last year, but all activity remains still at the crater. Eruptive activity, that is, been confined to that crater. So Mauna Loa, see what we got here. Currently not erupting. Looks like 20 small magnitude earthquakes. Now this was put out this morning, by the way, at about 9:10 a.m. Hawaii time. So this activity we're seeing right now has not been added to their update. Of course, the current unrest is most likely being driven by renewed input of magma. No major changes to note here across this area. We'll see what they put out tomorrow. Of course, Mauna Loa is the largest active volcano on this planet and covers half of the island of Hawaii. Eruptions tend to produce voluminous, fast-moving lava flows that can impact communities on the east and west sides of the island. The last eruption was back in 1984. That's a little ways, little time. Well-documented eruptions began back in 1843, it looks like, with 33 times, with intervals between eruptions ranging from months to decades. So we're looking at decades right now. 1984, right? I definitely love the 80s. Some good music back then, and some good movies. But that's a long time that has passed, right? Since this thing has shown any major eruption. So again, I think this is going to be a very soon event. When? I don't know. We just got to watch this for major activity. Earthquakes, for one, GPS, gas emissions here, all can be a sign of an impending eruption. But right now, I don't think it's going to erupt. Not with this very minimal activity. We're going to see a lot more larger earthquake activity and potentially a kind of a main one. But so far, we're just kind of watching it there. Of course, we'll update as needed. One earthquake coming in right now in our little quiet zone, a 4.5 into the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. There we go, 134 kilometers deep. Got to watch this area. I keep saying it. I've been saying it since the beginning of this year because it really hasn't seen any major rupture on it. And this subduction zone is it's a big player of some high slip rates there. Trimmer. Let's check out the Cascadia Trimmer tonight. See what we got. Most of the Trimmer confined to Oregon and looks like around Seattle. Now remember yesterday, I want to make sure, see if they've removed it. They haven't. We were looking at this little odd Trimmer event occurring off the coast of Oregon here, upstream. Not down dip, but upstream towards the locked area of the Cascadia, and that could be concerning. And it could also be an impending sign of something about ready to pop there on the Cascadia. A lot of times, and the Cascadia, it doesn't give off, what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't really give off a warning. It doesn't pop off with a couple fives, couple sixes up and down the board. It just goes. And it just goes with a 9-pointer if it's a full rupture. And if it's only a partial rupture here of the southern end, it could be anywhere between 8.2, 8.7 magnitude. But this subduction zone does not it doesn't give us a little warning in terms of seeing further earthquakes within the area. So when it goes, it just goes. But sometimes these trimmers, I think this trimmer has a lot to do with possibly forecasting the next big mega quake here along the Cascadia. So we got to watch that. And this kind of got at me a little bit. I was wondering what was going on. But as we look at today's trimmer, I'm not seeing any further activity up here. So we'll keep an eye on it. Let's see what we got for volcanic seismicity here around Mount Rainier. See if we're still seeing some earthquakes. It looks like south here. A couple earthquakes listed up on the map. Let's go ahead and see what the seismograph stations are showing here across the region around the Camp Sherman area. And there's still that activity kicking up. And those look like earthquakes. Those are kind of well-defined earthquakes here. At least a couple of them are. Let's see what we got for the afternoon time period. Maybe? Didn't I just click that? Oh, how far did I go back? Okay. It's kind of weird. I don't know why it took 3 clicks for it to operate. Shouldn't. But yeah, it definitely looks like there's some earthquake activity out there, I would say. There's quite a bit of them, so just kind of watching it. There's a lot more than the 3 or 4 they're showing there on the map. Very small microquakes, but definitely some microquakes brewing out there around Mount Rainier. All right, let's see. What else do we have cooking out here? The man on the sun, or the face on the sun, I should say, is looking quite happy as it's rotating into view here of Earth. Again, I got the eyes, the mouth, I've got a little nose up here maybe. That's a lot better than the creepy face we had last year for Halloween. So maybe this is a good sign, folks. The sun's happy, and who knows? Could be some good stuff heading up into the future. Maybe the sun knows about it. I don't know. Maybe that's just a little face behind the real face behind this mask is evil looking, kind of like last year's Halloween face. That was pretty cool looking, actually. I have to admit. But either face is pretty cool. I like it. These are coronal holes currently on the sun. This one here is facing the Earth, and that should amplify some conditions here in the coming days for the solar wind stream that are flowing from these holes. But gosh darn it, I don't know if you could get an any more obvious looking face there on the sun. Okay, so there we go. Looks like they have updated this a little bit, and that's going to be due to the those coronal holes facing us. It looks like the 29th, a potential G1 class storm, KP index of 5 for the higher latitudes, 60% chance of the auroras, 25% chance at the mid latitude. So we'll keep an eye on that and see how much it does play a part in the forecast there. Solar flare activity, we do have 3131, 3133. A couple of these sunspots here. That was kind of slow. Looking potentially active, and I still think the main one we need to worry about is going to be this one right here, 3133. Or that's 3131, excuse me. 3133 over here looks a little disorganized. Not a whole lot of complexity there of the magnetic fields. But we'll watch this one, and it is kind of rotating into view and could potentially create a little bit of solar flaring. And it looks like it is kind of crackling and popping here a little bit with some flares right now. We're up into the C flare category. So that could mean that we're looking at maybe potentially an M flare coming up when it pops and crackles like that, kind of like popcorn cooking on the stove the old-fashioned way. I prefer that over the microwave popcorn. I'm not a big fan of that. 35% chance of a C flare. M flare around 5% chance for now. I think these are a little bit under the potential that this sunspot harbors, so we'll keep an eye on it. What are these? Even these guys kind of seen that happy face. Happy sun, spooky aurora. Hey, that's actually pretty smart there. I didn't even think of that one. The sun appears to be in a good mood today. A somewhat happy, smiley face comprised of 3 coronal holes currently facing the Earth. A solar wind stream flowing primarily from equatorial coronal hole number 37 is predicted to reach Earth within the next 48 to 72 hours. So that's that right there. We'll watch it pretty closely. All right, see what else we got. I think that's about it. Current space weather events, the real-time solar wind, about as calm as you can be here. Speed, density, everything's all pretty stable here. No major space weather events going on currently, but we'll wait for that. We're on the 29th. And, of course, we'll watch these other sunspots as they come into view. What else do we have? What else? Is that about it? EMSC. Let's just give a quick glance here of the EMSC data. And there's the Kuril-Kamchatka earthquake up here around Iceland. Got a 4.0. Again, that one coming in just earlier around the Iceland area at about 7 kilometers deep. Rest of the flat scale model Earth here looks about the same as the USGS does. So no major changes here noted across the area. Down here in the New Zealand area, only a 3.1 around North Island. And let's see how deep that one is. Maybe if I can click on it. Hello. Maybe it's not working. Maybe it doesn't want me to click on it. Looks like, okay, 17 kilometers deep there. Not a deep earthquake. Kind of watch for those ones around the Hikurangi subduction zone. Alrighty, folks, we're going to bounce out of here. Have a good night. Stay safe out there. And we will chat at you guys very soon. Let me fix that earth there real quick because it's a little bit on the large size. All right, take care, folks. Catch you guys a little bit later.